Hi everybody, it's Sarah at One Big Happy Yarn Company, and I am joined once again by my friend Kristin Nicholas. Hi Kristin.
Hi Sarah.
So glad to have her back on set. For our crocheting friends, Kristin was here with us for our Fun with Hexagon series. So much color, so much fun. And now she's back with a project for you knitters. We're going to be making mittens.
2 pairs of mittens.
That's right. We're going to go over color work and corrugated ribbing and 2 kinds of thumbs and the incredible embroidery that you can add at the end.
Yeah, this is a great project. This one we're calling Bargello mittens, and I don't know if everybody knows about Bargello, but it's a needlepoint technique that you do on needlepoint canvas. And typically the needlepoint made like a flame stitch, and you would play with colors. And as I was designing this, I wasn't really thinking about it, but when it was finished, I was like, oh, this is Bargello in a knit form.
It really is.
Yeah, and
it's so fun.
And this is over a 6-stitch repeat, so it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah. Very
easy to memorize, but with all the color work, it just becomes another animal.
Yes. And that every row, there's more excitement and more excitement and more fun. But you're never working with more than 2 colors.
Right, and the repeat is over 6 stitches, and I think it's 6 rows.
Yeah, easy to memorize.
Very easy to memorize, yeah.
So we're going to dive into those Bargello mittens, and we will come back to our Norwegian flower mittens in further episodes in this series. Kristin, why don't you talk to us about the materials that we're going to need for this project?
We have chosen this beautiful Rowan yarn called Felted Tweed. It's a blend of 50% wool, 25% alpaca, and 25% viscose.
It's such a scrumptious blend.
Yeah. Now the fun thing about this yarn is you can see the little neps. That's the rayon / viscose. Rayon and viscose mean the same thing. And I always think that people that want to be fancy call it viscose, and people that don't want to be fancy call it rayon. But it is
to industry terms, folks.
And it's actually made from wood pulp.
Yep, cellulose fibers.
Cellulose fibers. So it's a thin yarn, thinner than I usually work with, but it really makes a beautiful fabric when it's done.
Yeah, and it does bloom a little bit once you block it. So it opens up, it loosens up, it fills in that space a little bit once you block it. Not a whole lot. I mean, this isn't going to turn into a worsted weight yarn after you block it.
No.
But it does plump up a bit.
Yeah. And you always have to block, especially when you're doing Fair Isle, because it will just even out the work.
Oh, yeah.
So, and the lovely thing about this yarn is it comes in almost 100 colors.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we just have a smattering selection up here behind us, but there is so much color choice.
Yeah, I mean, I like the bright things. Sarah likes a little bit more muted things, but you could do neutrals. I mean, there's just so many color combinations that you can do with this yarn.
Yeah.
And I really love it.
Yeah, and we'll have a bunch of kits put together for you. But you can also grab just a copy of the pattern and then go through our colors and put together your own little kit.
Yeah. And it can't go wrong. So this mitten uses 6 colors, but if you wanted to do it on your own, you could actually do 2 colors and alternate them. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't be quite as fun, but possible. This is the way the colors work against each other. Should I talk about how I designed it?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So this is my original swatch, which I knit back and forth. I'm an in the round knitter. I love to knit in the round. And so this is my wheelhouse. This, not so much. So you can see where I started, and my tension was a little bit wonky and a little bit off. Mm-hmm. And the back, I didn't weave in the ends, it's just a swatch. But I find it really hard to go back and forth because you've got to make your chart go backwards in your head. And so in the round, you're always working on the right side of the chart, and it always goes right to left.
Yeah.
So I started with this pretty pink, mm-hmm. and then with my color wheel in my head, because it's automatically in there, I chose to bounce off the green because it's a complementary color. And I knew that it would pop against each other. Then to choose this color, actually you can see in my sample, it's a little bit different. I swapped them. So in the finished mitten, I wanted it to pop a little bit more because these two were very similar. You know, they're both greenish blue. So this orange is a complementary color to the green. And then this dark teal is a complementary color to this. Yellow is a complementary color to blue. And then I had 6 colors was enough. So I started with the color range again. So you could literally probably make 3 pairs of mittens by fooling around with the different color placement at the, you know, after you finish the first one following this pattern.
And there's so much yardage in these balls of yarn. What is it, 140?
191, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
there's
huge.
So much. We're going to tell you for sure. There is a lot of yardage. 191 yards. So you're going to get at least 2 pairs of mittens, depending on the size that you make, because there are several sizes in the pattern.
So this pattern comes sized in four sizes, which is great.
Yeah.
You know, so everybody's got different hand sizes. You could do it for little kids, and then as you're knitting the mitten, you can measure on yourself to see how far you have to go up.
Yeah. So you make the right length finger cap for your hand.
You're right. Yeah. So you basically just have to know the width.
Yeah.
And then go.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So that's our fantastic yarn. What other tools do we need?
We need a set of 4 double-pointed needles.
Okay.
I prefer when I'm knitting this wool in the round, you know, your needles can slip. If they're metal, they can fall out, and then you've got to find the stitches and pick them up. If you use a wooden needle, it has more texture, more what I call tooth, and the yarn will stick more, especially with a wool yarn, to the double-pointed needles that are wood.
It's got a little more grip.
Yeah,
everything
grip,
sort of stays in place.
Yeah.
So, I prefer wooden needles with this kind of project as well.
Now these are 5-inch. Is that what they are?
These are 5-inch.
And they do come in different lengths. I think they come
5,
in 6, 8.
Yep.
Yeah. I usually will use the 6 or the 8, but today we're demoing on the 5. Yeah. This actually, the 5-inch needles work better for smaller things, for thumbs. These wouldn't be so great for a hat.
Oh, no. You
can't
want
use them.
needles for a hat, absolutely. But for mittens, a little project like this, they work.
Yeah.
And what size are you using?
Okay, so we always have the conundrum with gauge. And I am a very, very loose knitter. I just am. I make sure that I pull my floats long, and I guess I must be really relaxed. So I am using size 3s, but
I'm using size 4s.
And I've written patterns in the past where people have, they're such tight knitters, they have to use like 8s.
Yeah.
You know, so it sort of all depends on your mood, on your tension. But if you've been knitting a long time, you probably kind of have a guess. Yeah.
But if you don't, I mean, that's the importance of a swatch.
You
can work up your swatch and make sure that you've got the right gauge, because you do kind of want to have the right gauge. You don't want to make a pair of mittens that come out too small or too big.
Yeah. But the cool thing about mittens, when they have this much wool and fiber content that's animal, they will mold to your hand. Yeah. Especially if it's snowy or rainy and they get a little wet, well, they will become the shape of your hand, which is really nice.
They'll slightly felt, and that'll help to hold. I'm just going to flip this inside out and show you. I mean, the color work is a big part of this project. If you've never done color work before, don't be afraid. We're going to walk you through it. But all of these floats on the inside, where we change color and have to carry them along behind, these will begin to slightly felt into place over time.
Yeah, and it almost becomes a mask the longer and longer you wear them. And it becomes like a piece of felt. I mean, I've had mittens that I've worn for years if I don't lose them.
Yeah.
And it's like so cool on the inside.
Yeah, these are no longer separate floats. They become part of the fabric of the mittens. That's part of why they're so warm and cozy.
Yeah, and you know, a Fair Isle mitten is going to be warmer than a single layer colored mitten.
Yeah, because of that extra layer.
Because the extra layer.
Yeah.
And especially with this yarn where it's so thin, I would personally, I would not knit a single layer mitten.
No, it'd be too thin.
Way too thin.
Yeah.
And I live where it's really cold. I live in Western Massachusetts, and I need warmth in the winter, for sure.
Do we need any other tools? Scissors,
tapestry needle, stitch markers. Yes, that would be a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah. But we're ready to go.
Awesome. So we'll have all of that on the website. You can pick up the kit at onebighappy.com. And we'll have all those extras listed there for you if you don't already have all those extra bits and pieces in your stash. Do we want to get to the knitting?
Yeah, sure.
Yay!
Okay, we're going to cast on.
I'm so excited.
All right, so I'm going to cast on with this really pretty teal color.
I'm going to use this bright red.
Oh, nice. That's lovely. You see, this yarn, look at that. They have so many choices.
Yeah,
that
the colors are crazy.
Okay, so I'm going to do a slip knot. And if you're a knitter, you obviously know how to do this.
And now what cast on are you using? A Kristin cast on?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's a basic cast on, I'm not sure. I don't know what anything is called anymore. It's what I've done since, I was 9, since my mom taught me. Okay, so I'm going to put my needle in. Got to make sure that you grab the right thread, because
the working yarn and not the tail.
Yeah, because I've done that, Okay, and I'm going to cast on now.
Oh, it's a knitted on cast on.
Is that? Oh,
that's what,
okay.
That's what
all
it's
right.
called. Oh, this is a fantastic cast on. All right, so this creates like a slightly stretchier bottom edge than with a long tail cast on. But you could do either.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know, I know people love to use that knitted on cast on, but I mean, the long tail, but I've never gotten into it, and I just do what I've done for like years.
Go for it. All right, you cast on stitches. I'm going to talk to them a little bit about cast ons.
Okay.
So one of the benefits of casting on this way with Kristin is that you don't have to do the tricky thing with long tail where you have to figure out how much of a tail you need to have for all your stitches, because you actually start in the middle and then you're using the working yarn and the tail yarn to cast on with long tail, which is why it's called long tail. This way, Kristin created a slip knot with just about 5-6 inches of tail, and then all of the yarn that's coming in for this cast on is working yarn. So that's, if you don't want to have to figure out how much tail you're going to need for your cast on, this is a great way to cast on.
So let me walk you through how I cast on. So I'm going to put my needle in through the loop and wrap my yarn through. I pull my needle through and I put it on the left-hand needle. Now at this point, I've got a big loop. Now, in order to have a nice stretchy edge, which you really want with a mitten, you don't want it tight because then you can't get your hand through it. I keep 2 needles right next to each other. I pull so it's snug. But so what that's giving me is it's giving me a stitch that has got some give in it. Okay? And so then I know I'm going to have a nice loose edge.
Yeah.
And so I wrap, pull through, and put it on the needle. Tighten it up, wrap, pull through, and put it on the needle.
Oh, yeah, so you're just knitting a stitch and then putting it back on the left-hand needle, knitting a stitch, putting it back on the left-hand needle. It's seemingly so simple.
It is. Everybody's got their favorite cast on, and there's always all this discussion about which is the best way and which is not. I think whatever you're comfortable with is the best way to cast on.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So how many stitches are we casting on? Depending on
the pattern. This pattern's written with 4 sizes.
Right.
Okay.
So even if you're making the largest size, which is 48 stitches,
I think so.
You can cast all 48 stitches onto one needle.
So by having this on wrapped around the 2 needles, we're going to have a nice stretchy edge.
Yeah, which is what you want for mittens.
So we're going to do something a little different. We're not going to put it on to the set of double points now.
Not right away.
I figured this out, after having projects get screwed up. When you're working on this small of an edge, it's hard to place the stitches onto the double point needles. You can get them twisted, especially if you're doing a big sweater and you've got like 250 stitches and you've got to go all the way around the circular needles. I've actually knit a sweater and it was twisted and I had like an inch done and like 250 stitches. And so now what I usually throw into my designs is a little bit of an edge that's knit back and forth.
Yes.
And then I've got a little bit of edge so I know that I'm doing it right.
Yeah, so if we go to the mitten here, so we're going to do a little cheat.
Right.
And we're going to knit this section of the mitten that's all going to roll up on itself. We're going to knit it flat before we join it in around.
And it saves you hassles, basically.
Yeah, the heartache of having a twisted cast on.
But then it also becomes a cute little design feature, you know?
It is.
So, anyway.
So once we've got all of our stitches cast on, what
we're
do we do
just
with
going
the
to
first
knit.
row?
We're going to knit.
We're going to knit.
Okay.
So we're going to work in stockinette. We're going to knit a row, purl a row, knit a row?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. But I've got to count my stitches now.
Yeah.
Okay. 5. So now I have the right amount of stitches on, and we're going to knit a row, purl a row, knit a row. Okay.
Right. So that little edge on the cuff is in stockinette.
Right.
Beautiful. So you'll want to work those 3 rows. You can pause the video here so that you can do that work, and then join us back here when we get into the color work.
So now we've done 3 rows of stockinette back and forth on our little short double pointed needle. And all those stitches, they fit.
They do.
Cool. Okay, so now we need to set it up in the round, okay? And after we set it up, we're going to go into the corrugated ribbing. Corrugated ribbing is over a multiple of 4.
Right, so we're doing a 2x2 rib.
Yep, so it's a 2x2 rib, but we're changing colors for the pearl.
I love how this looks.
Oh, yeah, it really is just so pretty. I mean, this is standard for any kind of Fair Isle sweater that we start with this, but I use it for, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay, so I am going to slip my stitches. I'm going to put a multiple of 4 on it. So I'm going to put 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so see how they stretched out?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to pick up my next needle, and this gets a little bit crazy, with all these needles flying around and you need to join them, but we're going to do 12 more on this one. You do what the pattern tells you, though. 3, 4, 5.
My husband, whenever I'm working with double points, my husband calls it porcupine knitting.
Oh, perfect name.
There's so many pointy bits.
Right. And then I've got, this doesn't even look like I have the right amount of stitches on it. We'll see. 5. At this point, check. All right. So that's 5. There's 12. This point you can always fix if you cast on the wrong amount. So
Yeah, there's not much here. If you needed to
5.
start again, you could.
Yeah, so I have 13 left. So in my first round, I'm just going to knit 2 together to get rid of that extra stitch.
We won't tell anybody.
No,
Nobody will ever
nobody's going to know. Okay, so I'm going to take my 3 needles.
So you've got 36 stitches. You're making a different size
Yep.
than I do. I have 48.
You have 48.
So
okay.
I put mine onto 4 needles. So it's
Oh,
12
okay.
on each needle.
Yeah. Okay.
So then I'll be working with the 5th needle.
Your 5th
when I
needle.
knit.
And I'm working with 4 needles total.
Yeah, but it still works just the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to cut this yarn.
The great thing with this yarn is that
It breaks.
I mean,
good.
It's not going to break when you are knitting, but if you don't have scissors handy, you can break it pretty easy.
Yeah. And especially when you're doing all these colors, it's nice to be able to break it and not fuddle around for your scissors. Okay, so I
do love that transition, Kristin. I do love that, knitting it flat so that you've got a couple of rows when you go to join in the round, because it is really much easier to see.
So much easier to see.
To make sure that this doesn't get twisted. Love it.
You know, I made it up myself, but I'm sure other people did it before me. That's the thing about knitting. You know, everything, you think you discovered something, you're like so brilliant, but then somebody else made it up anyway. Mm-hmm. You know, it's as the practice goes, everybody comes up with very similar ideas.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm going to grab this like grayish pinky color.
Oh, pretty.
And work it with this yellow.
So the reason I chose to use these 2 colors is this is sort of a greeny yellow, and this is a pretty kind of almost purpley blue. And those are complementary colors opposite each other on the color wheel. And so I'm all about the bouncing the color.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm using. Okay, now I'm going to take my needles and I'm going to form them into a triangle. Okay?
So for me with 4 needles, I'm going to form mine into a square.
Oh, a square.
Here, I'll show them.
There we go.
My little square.
Right.
But we can see your triangle and my square that this bottom edge of our cast on doesn't twist around or do anything funny.
Exactly. So much easier, right?
Yeah, it's just a nice edge all the way around.
Right. And so you have no fear of the twisted edge,
Nope.
the dreaded twisted edge.
Nope.
Okay. So my first color is going to be my blue. The first round it's a little tricky, and actually I have to go around for my first round without it being in the round, because it'll be joined on the second round.
Yes,
okay.
but now you've got that.
I've got it set.
You're sort of like building your muscle memory of what this is going to be.
Right.
But for this row, we're going to have this funny dangly mess.
Right. Okay. So in corrugated ribbing, the first round, you're going to knit all the stitches across on the right side. And the reason you're doing that is, as you can see, this turns into a purl. If I were to knit 2 with the blue and purl 2 with the yellowy color, I would have a little funky bump there.
Yeah, you get that little blue bump.
Yeah,
Yep.
and some people like it, some people I don't. I'd rather to have it a nice transition row, so we've got this turquoise and then we start the pattern.
Yeah, it's a much cleaner line if you knit this whole first row
Yep.
of the ribbing.
So I'm going to knit 2 in my blue. Again, making sure.
Don't work with your tail, folks.
Right. Knit
There's
2.
just tears ahead if you do that.
And get my yellowy green, and I'm going to knit 2. Now, when you pull the yarn across the back, you don't want to get too nervous and pull it too tight, because then your rib is going to suck in, and once again, it's going to make it hard for the mitten to to pull it on over your hands. So I'm going to see how nice. What I do is I sort of spread my stitches out.
Yep.
And use that to do the joins.
Yeah,
and
and bring your yarn gently across the back of those yellow stitches that you did.
Look for my working yarn. 2, 1, 2.
Yep. 2 stitches in each color, bringing that last color gently across the back of the color you just worked before you change.
Okay.
That's color work, folks.
This is.
That's it.
Now I'm gonna do the yellow, and then I'm going to my next needle, and I'm gonna give a little more wise wisdom.
I love it. Please
Okay.
impart.
Okay. So now I'm on my next needle, and I've got to do the blue. Now, I like speed knitting because I'm always on a deadline. Because I knit for projects, and they've got to be done by a certain point. When Sara was asking me to do this, she says, "When do you want to do it?" I said, "Give me a deadline, I'll get it done."
I like having a deadline.
Yeah,
It's good.
it's good. It's very good. Okay, so when I do this, I'm gonna knit one color off my left hand, continental, and then I'm gonna throw my other color.
That is exactly how I'm set up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you can teach yourself to do this, you will save so much time.
Yep. So I'll have Kristin demonstrate this for you, and then I will demonstrate another technique for 2 color work that I've taught before.
And I'll learn something from Sara, which is always good.
That's part of the fun of these.
Yeah. I can't remember what I learned on the last video we did together, but I was like, oh, wow, she's a genius.
Just different paths of experience.
Right. So I'm going to knit 2, and then I'm going to throw these 2.
Yep.
Knit 2, throw 2.
So Kristin in her I'm just going to knit whatever I want life knits continental. So that's where the yarn is over her left hand.
Right. Oh, and remember how I had the wrong amount of stitches on this?
Yep.
Let's show people how to fix it. So I've got to get rid of 1 stitch in order to have a repeat of 4. Okay, so.
Right, you have 13 on that needle.
Right.
You need to reduce it to 12.
You're not going to have that because you're not going to make that mistake.
But if you did.
If you did, you can fix it. Okay, so I'm going to knit 2. And then right here, I'm going to knit these 2 together. And that will get rid of my extra stitch.
Yeah, nobody will ever know.
Nobody will ever know, ever know.
Nobody will ever know.
So what were you going to show now?
So 2 different ways. So for some of us, being dexterous enough to knit with both hands is not happening, and that's all right. I can't play piano to save my life. I couldn't play a guitar or be a drummer because I can't make my 2 hands do different things. I don't know why this works, but it does. So I'm going to slide in here and show you having both colors on the same hand. So if you knit, if you are a thrower, so the yarn is in your right hand, I'll show you how I do that. So let's see, my next color is the pink, and this is how I throw my stitches. You could drop the color and pick up the next color and use it. Just like that. So you're only ever working with one color. Done with that one, drop it, pick up the other color that you need. That is an option. You can also take both of these colors, and depending on how you tension them in your fingers, you can hold both of them slightly differently. So I'm going to take the yellow and I'm going to catch it with my pinky and my ring finger. And the pink, I'm going to catch with my middle finger and my index finger.
And so wrapping it is giving you tension.
It gives me a little bit of tension. So
Okay.
Then I can knit with the yellow and then with the pink and then with the yellow and then go back to the pink.
Wow.
If you're a continental knitter, you can do the same thing. So you can have both of the yarns. I have to think of how I tension continental here for a second, because I don't knit continental very often. It's mostly just when I'm doing color work. And I can pick the pink here and then the yellow. Here. There are also rings.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
There are rings
yeah.
you can get that have little loops or little sections that you can separate out the colors that you're using so that you can just tension the way that you normally do and then grab off the ring the color that you need. So there is no right or wrong way to do this. It's just whatever feels most comfortable for you and helps you get through the work. So explore a little bit of those in your swatch and see what works for you. My only suggestion is don't change techniques in the middle of your project.
No, because your tension is definitely going to change.
Your tension is going to change depending on how you hold them. So, yeah.
So I learned to knit back and forth. I guess American, is that what do you call it when you do back and forth without throwing?
Oh, continental. Yeah, if the yarn is in your left hand, it's continental.
Okay, so what's the other way?
English throwing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how I learned.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to go faster. So I think I was like 20. And I wanted to make sweaters faster because, I was very fashionable and I needed a lot of sweaters. So one day I sat my little butt down and I decided I was going to knit continental. And I sat there for like 8 or 9 hours and taught myself how to knit continental. And it was excruciating. So slow in the beginning, but by the end of that 8 hours, I was a whiz.
Yep.
So, you can learn other ways.
Yep.
It's just whether you have the time to really put into it.
And the patience.
Yeah. And I love that you can do it that way, but I just have never moved on from the way I learned, and it's okay.
Right. Yeah.
It's okay. That's the cool thing about knitting.
And once you find the thing that really works for you, that really works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now we are going to do our second round.
And this is where we really join in the round.
Right, we're going to join it in the round. And oh my goodness, we have a lot of ends. But we've got our little bit of fabric, so we can just whip them around.
Yeah, it's so great. It's so much easier.
Yeah, I've got to move my chair in here.
Oh yeah, I scooted you out of the way.
That's all right. Okay, so I'm just going to go.
Scoot back over.
Put them in the round. So there's my triangle, or if you're doing Sarah's way, you've got a square. Oh, and look at what happened there. The first one unknit, so I'm just going to fix it. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the reason that unknit is because this end was not woven in, which I would never do until the end.
Yeah.
So when you do join, a little bit of fudging, okay.
Yeah, it gets a little complicated.
Yeah, but after 2 rounds, because now we're going in the round, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so doesn't matter which one you choose when you're doing continental wrap around. So one I'm going to pick and one I'm going to throw. That's my version. Sarah's going to do it her way.
No, I do it the same.
The same way?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So at this point, you're going over 2 stitches here and you're joining. So this is our join. So you don't want to do it too tight.
No.
You just want to do it sort of just right. So that's got a little bit of give.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I'm going to knit, 2.
It is.
Oh, and
fiddly
I've got
in
it.
these first
I've got it
stitches.
wrong for me because I want to purl.
You want to purl
I'm going to purl continental because I'm faster that way.
Yeah. I purl faster English throwing.
Oh, do you?
So I'll be
Okay.
purling with my right hand and knitting with my left hand, and Kristin will be doing the opposite.
Just to confuse you folks, right?
Just to offer you options.
Okay, so I'm going to purl these 2. So you see that purl bump is not going to show onto the fabric because
such a
we
clean
knit.
transition.
Yeah, we knit
Yeah.
that first round. Okay, so now I'm going to Where's my yarn? Here we go.
Yeah, see, purling.
Don't get discouraged when you have all these yarns. Just work your way through it.
Yeah, it's fiddly these first couple of
It
rounds.
really is.
But once you get into the groove of it, it's nothing. You'd be
Right.
like, what was I so afraid of? Just be patient and gentle with yourself. You're learning a brand new thing. I mean, listen to Kristin's story about learning how to knit continental. We're not going to make you do that. It's not 8 hours with us. But if you think about it, the process of knitting this mitten will give you hours of experience of doing this.
Oh, you're not kidding me. You learn so much on a mitten.
Yeah.
You can go from a mitten to a sweater.
Yeah. Well, yeah, almost everything,
You know?
all the skills are there.
Right.
Oh, nice. Mittens as a gateway drug to sweaters.
But also the nice thing about mittens is they don't take a whole season of knitting.
No.
They get finished quickly if you sit down and knit. If you don't sit down and knit, they don't
It'll take
happen.
longer. But you could get most of a mitten done on a flight. Ask us how we know.
So I'm on my last needle of this joining round. Knit 2, purl 2 across, knit 2, purl 2.
I love the rhythm of corrugated ribbing. I mean,
Yeah.
it takes a little bit more concentration than just 2x2 ribbing in the same color. So it's not a wine night gabbing with your friends kind of project.
No.
But
You can drink the wine after you got to set it up at home, and then you go to your knitting
and you can
circle.
do it. Yeah, this is not wine knitting for me, but I do enjoy it.
So now you can see my first round. So I've got my bumps, my corrugated bumps, and then you just continue on the same exact knit 2 in one color, purl 2 in the next color, and go round and round and round. And when you're done, it's about a 2-inch rib that we're going to end up with.
Yeah, and the details of that will be in your pattern based on the size that you're making. So make sure that you refer to your pattern for that detail for the mittens you're making. So that is our first episode. That is the cuff of both of the mittens that we're going to be doing. Go ahead and keep on working on that cuff until it's the right length for the size mitten that you're making. Make sure you refer to your pattern for that because all the details will be in your pattern. Work on that, and we will see you in the next episode when we begin working on the Bargello pattern and
So
our
pretty.
actual Fair Isle. And we will see you there. But until then,
Happy knitting.